I'm happy about that. Cool. So strategic planning and vision. So I just want to share with you that this is the biggest thing, one of the big things that we as leaders of RTOs need to be looking at. And I say this because I've been into RTOs, I've managed RTOs, and I have worked with RTOs over the many years that I've been in this space. And you come in and it's just, there's no vision, there's no goals, there's no strategy. And so I want to take you on a journey, and I want to share with you a story about John. Now, John is the manager of an RTO, and he's the driver of the bus. So just imagine you're on this bus at the moment. And in that bus are John's trainers. He's got 3 or 4 trainers. He's got his wife working for his business. He works in 2 different sectors. He's doing quite well. He's driving that bus. He goes out into the country, he goes into the city. He misses the potholes. He sometimes gets himself into tight spaces. And those alleyways, those very tight alleyways where there's buildings, high-rise buildings either side. He gets into those tight alleyways. Occasionally, he consults with his trainers and assessors who are on the bus with him, and his wife and some of his stakeholders. They're on there, but occasionally he will consult with them and he will say, how are we going to get out of this tight alleyway? And he listens to them and off he goes. Now, sometimes he goes down a one-way street the wrong way, but mostly he stops at traffic lights and he does the right thing as far as the traffic rules are concerned. Has anyone been on this bus with John? Does anyone relate to this bus where the RTO is just going along? Now, as he goes along, there's people coming and going, getting on and getting off. And one person gets on, and her name is Sarah. And Sarah says one day she's watching the goings on and watching where John's driving this bus and how he's going. And she comes home one night and she says to her husband, he has no plan. He has no direction of where he's going. He's reacting to the conditions around him. He doesn't communicate to his staff. And it is just this craziness of, I must meet compliance, I must meet compliance, I must meet compliance. And that is his RTO. Now, I wanted to share this story with you because John's at the fork in the road, and the fork in the road is the RTO standards, the new standards that we have coming here with us today, coming next year. And they're talking about that vision, that mission, those goals. And if John had that vision and he shared that with his staff, then everyone would stay on the bus and they'd be with him. Yet if he doesn't, they get off the bus and they leave him. And so then he's having to constantly recruit because the culture is not showing integrity. It is not, there's no communication and people are leaving. And students are sad. They're not fulfilling what they want, but they're not sharing that information because John's on that bus. He's so concerned about steering that bus around wherever he's going that he doesn't see the culture. And this is what our new standards are saying to us today, that we must have a culture of integrity and, have that fairness and that transparency. That to me means communication, communicating with all people. So it's your stakeholders, your staff, and your students. Let's look at the student journey. We've got the students where this is a student journey. It's a typical marketing student journey. And this is your student. She's decided she needs to do a training course. So she doesn't know where she's going to find that training course. She starts Googling or whatever she does. She's on Pinterest or Instagram, wherever she is. And she finds a few RTOs. And one of those RTOs might be you. And as she goes through her journey, she decides that she's going to make a decision on the provider. And a couple of those providers reach out to her and she goes, right, this seems to be the provider that meets my needs. So she enrolls with them. So at the moment, she has no idea you exist. So she's sort of meh as far as, where her thought process is for moving along her journey. When she's here, she's had quite a few touch points with the RTO, and she's going, yeah, you know, I'm really excited. I'm happy that these RTOs are contacting me, and, you know, it seems like a great plan. Then she starts getting trained. Now, maybe she had specific needs where she needed to be trained online, or she needed to have face-to-face training, whatever her specific needs were. She starts getting trained and she doesn't get the support she needs. Maybe the trainer's too busy to think about her, or, you know, they're just not giving the recognition that she requires. So her satisfaction is going down. There may be a point where she's thinking of dropping out, or she's struggling to get the course material done because maybe it's a long course, and, you know, and she's got so many other pressures in her life. Yet her attitude towards this RTO keeps going down. And when she does get qualified, she's down here. She's not happy. And when she tells her friends about the experience, it's not a good experience. And that's not what we're wanting. We want our RTO to be sustainable. We want our RTO and our students to tell others about how fantastic we are. So let's look at this other scenario. And here she is again, she's happy. So we're going to go through the scenario. So she had no idea that you existed. She does a Google search, she finds your website. On your website, you've got really clear information that's marketing the course that she wants. And she contacts you and finds out that she can have exactly what she needs. So those needs are, she wants a bit of online, and she wants to be face-to-face. And then she's like, okay, I'm liking this. She gets a welcome email, and she gets maybe a meet and greet. And that meet and greet could be online, or it could be face-to-face, whichever way it is. And in that meet and greet, she gets asked about her needs, her expectations, you know, what's going on behind the scenes, what's going to impact her obtaining this course. Because if she's busy like she was in the other scenario, then maybe there's some impacts there that really can make a difference to her as she progresses through her course. So she enrolls and she's really excited. The training comes as promised. She has a great trainer who really is supporting her, and she's got other people in the RTO that also support her. So she just feels like she's getting whatever she needs. In the training, there were great activities to help her learning. And all of those meant that when the assessment came, she was easily able to apply her new skills and learnings, and she passed the assessments. She got a congratulations letter, and the RTO actually did an online ceremony with everyone. And so she felt so wanted and part of a community. And then she received, after her course, other marketing courses, other courses from the RTO. What do you think her experience is going to be when she tells her friends? This is the experience. I know, Alexi, exactly. This is the experience that we want for our RTOs. We want this person to recommend you to your friends. We want this person to, you know, put other people on the courses, to recommend your other courses. It's not just the one that she did, it's other courses that you offer, and to talk about you in a positive light. Now, remember, this person is in industry. This person is talking to employers. She's going to be sharing her experience with others. And if you think of it as that circle of influence, that one person, that one student can influence so many people. Do you want it to be this influence or this influence? And this is where the standards are coming from, and also where Alexi and I are coming from, and why we've put this webinar together. When you get this customer-centric approach, which is required in the new standards, then you get those amazing testimonials. And, you really get that focus where the student satisfaction is telling you that you're doing the right thing, that you really are looking after them, you're promoting their well-being, you're collecting and acting on their feedback, and you're making changes, not like John in the bus where he's just going with the craziness of the environment. You're actually flowing in a way, and you know where your direction is, and you're speaking to everyone in your RTO, your staff, your students, your stakeholders, and they are guiding you all in that to get to that vision that you're looking for. Industry engagement. Throughout my life of being in the vet sector, this is something that I know is a bugbear for many, many people. I've seen really scrappy bits of information that they present to auditors to say, this is my engagement. And that's on one extreme. Or, people making excuses, oh, we don't need to speak to industry. This is what the course demands. This is what we have to do. I've heard that, and I've also seen amazing engagement. And, I work with clients where they're constantly out in industry, and they're constantly asking them, what machines are you using? How do you need this to happen? What's the best way that we move forward with this training? Is it in blocks of 3 days or 4 days, or do you want them and coming back, so blocks of 3 days, going back to the workplace, coming back for 4 days, or do you want them to complete it in a 2-week period, or whatever it is? The engagement means that you are understanding their policies, their procedures, understanding, what it is that's happening. And it really is, the benefits are huge because you understand the latest developments. You really do find out what's happening in industry. You understand the expectations of the RTO, and you're marketing to them. If you are out there in industry talking to them, asking them what they want, then they're going to respect you and respond to you, and they're going to put students on your course. And when you are front of mind, they're going to remember you. Let's say they've got 2 RTOs that deliver the same course, and maybe they're a company. Let's say I deal with many RTOs that are in the mining space, and those sorts of mines, they have contracts with, let's say, 4 RTOs that deliver the same things. And they can go to any one of those 4 RTOs. But if you're there talking to them on a regular basis, even if it's just a simple chat, you're going to be front of mind, and you're going to be the ones that they're going to call. So it really is important that you're getting out there, not just to tick a box to meet those RTO standards, but to get out there and tell them how good you are, and to actually understand what is their future, what does their future look like, and maybe you have to put on new scope to support them into that new future. And maybe you work with them. I know, anyway, I'm just thinking about various new scope that RTOs have put on, and how they've worked with industry to put on that new scope to work in the space of AI and various aspects. When you're out there talking to industry, you're contextualizing, and this is what the RTO standards are talking about. You need to get out there, you need to talk to them, and you need to make your training relevant. It's always been in the arts, other standards, yet these new standards are really specifying. So it's now something you have to do, and you are able to integrate with the policies of the business, as I said earlier. So this is the journey that I expect you to be going on, or that, the new standards are expecting you to be going on. You're engaging with the industry, you're seeking that feedback, you're engaging with all your stakeholders, so it includes your students. You're looking at what the expectations are, you're reacting or acting on that feedback, and then you're developing your training and assessment strategies to meet those needs. The next area that they talk about in the standards is partnerships and collaboration. So there's always been partnership, or there's always been that, meeting industry, talking to industry, but now they go into it in more detail. They say, strategic partnerships. What does that look like? And I know that Alexi is going to talk about this in a moment. With industry, with other education providers. So that could be with TAFE, it could be with universities, it could be with other RTOs, it could be with providers that are non-accredited, yet they're still in your space and they still have your clients. And if you think of it in this way that, where are your clients coming from and who else has your clients, your students? So it's another way of looking at you're getting out there. It's that ripple effect. It's that the way that you are connecting. And the next thing that they say in the new standards is with community organisations. So really they're being specific now and saying it's not just industry. We expect you to be connecting with so much more, so many more providers, so that we really know where you are in your space and you know where others are in that same space. And it just brings out great marketing opportunities because your students are in these places or wanting to, or hoping to go to these places. So they're either coming up through them or they're moving between. So it really is a great place for you to be. So as a leader, you've got to think of yourself as being a marketer as well as a leader. So you're leading, you're communicating, you're sharing that vision, and you're marketing your RTO at the same time. And you're using the information to improve the student and industry experience so you get more people. And that's what it's all about. And again, I've put together this graphic so we can look at, this is what we're looking for. We're looking at what it is that they're looking for, the student, the delivery methods, the workplace requirements, the resources, how assessment is conducted and where, and that is your training and assessment strategy. So it's not just a bit of paper that sits on the shelf and stays there and gathers dust. It is a dynamic document that is changed through the way that you and your interactions. So if we go back to John, and if he's got that strategic planning, then he is able to drive that bus in a way that breeds a culture of understanding, of knowing where we're going. Everyone's on board. It is a customer-centric approach. So we're looking at the customer in their totality. We're engaging with industry. We've got the consultation and we've got partnerships and collaborations. So that is me. I'm going to move over to Alexi. And I'll stop sharing my screen so you can do that.
Thanks, Merinda. But I guess, before we jump onto that, does anyone have any questions? And I know some of you are multitasking, so maybe with using the chat function of this Zoom meeting as well. So guys, have you got any questions in relation to Merinda's presentation before we jump into my stuff? Because my stuff may be complementing some of the stuff that she's saying, but I obviously come from a completely different set of skills as well. All right. Well, maybe we'll come back to questions after my presentation. Merinda, well, thanks for that. RTO for me, obviously, is an interesting topic. We've got a few customers in that sort of space, but overall, I'm always fascinated to see the various businesses and I guess the avenues that people are following. So let me share my screen here. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen. Yep, excellent. All right. So I guess a little bit about myself first. My company is called Use, which stands for Use Web Solutions. We started back in 2007, and we moved away from the whole web thing quite a while ago, hence why we sort of abbreviated onto Use, and there'll be a bit of a story about that later. We basically focus on helping B2B and B2C type businesses with their digital marketing processes, automation, and a bunch of other things as well. We are in Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Melbourne, and we try to make life easier for our customers by addressing the technology and marketing part, just to make this super simple for you. I love, jiu-jitsu. That's one of my passions. My family, Christina and my twin boys and a baby girl, are the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I also am an avid fisherman. So don't know about you guys, but I think it's good to have hobbies that really extract you from everything. And once again, everything good, everything quality requires time. And I think these things, definitely are allowing me to extract myself from the business, because sometimes I'm just like you, multitasking, trying to do a lot of different things as well. All right, so a little bit about myself. I love to challenge myself. And for that reason, I actually started a podcast last year called Better Business. In fact, you can actually find a podcast episode with Merinda that we did earlier this year. I love learning and I love sharing my learnings with other business owners, because a lot of the time it's just about finding the right direction and being able to inspire and motivate business owners on their journey. And overall, my motto is creating positive change, because that's what I like doing. So today's agenda is I want to talk about AI, and I think AI is one of those huge topics, but there are some easy and practical ways to implement it into your business. I want to talk about strategic partnerships that Merinda has touched on, and obviously it is a part of your new standards. And overall, I'll be happy to sort of address any Q&A. So let's just jump into it. And there's a quick overview, so there's no confusion. We call ourselves a results-based digital marketing agency, which is where we focus on results rather than basically trying to get someone in the contract. We don't do contracts. We work with people who we like and who we can help, and vice versa. And for us, it started with web development, and now we're doing a lot of AI consulting and helping people with things like CRMs and ERPs as well. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, we'll chat at the end of the presentation. And like I said, if you got any immediate questions, please use chat to highlight the question. So let's talk about AI opportunities in client acquisition and retention, because I think this is one of the key changes within the standards. And I think, to address that properly, you first need to understand what the client acquisition process looks like. I find that a lot of businesses, most colleges would basically be running a marketing campaign of some sort. Then they'd have a lead acquisition process. And then from there, there's a sales process, and then there is onboarding. Now, between these things, there's a bunch of different little micro moments, if you like, that are often overlooked. And as a result, you be potentially missing out on opportunities or not having a very smooth process. We like to look at it from the perspective of funnels. And if you sort of put this as a funnel, you're able to track the results a lot better. Let's say 100 people inquired about your courses, and then 15 people sign up. So you can clearly say that you have a 15% conversion rate. And overall, you need to understand whether it's good or bad. It's difficult to compare different businesses, but overall, there are some guidelines as to what we be driven by, and there's always a way to improve these numbers as well. So what I like to look in is the gaps in this customer acquisition process. And typically for businesses like yours, it comes down to three things: time, resources, and information. So I find that there's obviously always a lack of resources. You may be understaffed. You may be doing too many things. You may not have the information on your website updated. There may be something else coming up that's not quite there yet. And that's okay. That's quite normal. There's nothing wrong with this. As you're listening to this recording, you're probably doing something else. That's totally understandable. Then there's a whole timing component where, let's say a potential student will make an inquiry, but it would take you a little bit of time to get back to them with the right information. Or they basically would be making an inquiry, let's say late in the evening, because they've been working all day or doing something else. And as a result, you can only get back to them the following morning. But guess what? They've also sent out, expression of interest to other RTOs as well, your potential competitors. And as a result, you may potentially miss out on that contact. And the most common thing I get is people telling me, look, we get all these inquiries and we try to call them, and half of them we can't reach. Sounds familiar? And if you sort of pinpoint this down to a particular marketing channel, we get this a lot through things like social media. Now, social media can work very well. However, that lead acquisition process requires a lot of nurturing. And this is where AI can really come in and help you with that. And obviously lack of information. Like a lot of the time people would look at your website and look, I understand that you're highly regulated as to what you can put out there, but oftentimes you just won't find the information that you're looking for. You may find the course outline, you may find a course number, but a lot of the time you don't know exactly what that course is going to do for you unless you actually speak to somebody who can help you sort of piece this all together. And look, some RTOs are fairly straightforward and fairly niched. Others basically offer, you know, gazillions of courses, which does make it very confusing for the student right at the end. In terms of AI as a solution, I obviously could talk about many different tools, but one I think that's going to be very practical for you is a tool called Chaindesk. Anyone came across Chaindesk? Can I get something in the chat message, please? If anyone's come across that, yes, no? Okay, interesting. So chaindesk.ai, check it out. We're starting to get some messages. No, good. Very good. So chaindesk.ai is a tool that is driven by ChatGPT. Now, we're talking about a chatbot that actually allows you to do more than just the front of the house. We can do back of house. And in fact, how we came across this was one of our clients who works with a lot of NDIS contractors reached out saying, look, I'm always very busy. All these people call me every single time there's a problem. I need to get on the phone and speak to these guys. And we said, look, do you have a set of policies or processes or SOPs that you are using in order to communicate with these people? She said, you know what? It was almost crying. She said, I've spent so much time putting this together. I've got like hundreds and hundreds of pages of all this stuff, but no one ever reads it. It's there, but it's easier for them to just call us. And we said, look, well, let's try to put a chatbot in place. And she said, what chatbot? We said, yeah, like we can do a back of house chatbot. And she's like, okay, so how does it work? So essentially we used her manuals and policies and everything that she's collated over the years and put that as a data store. And basically that data store was drawing that information and could actually impersonate our client in order to respond to these people. And we did this as a chatbot. We found that some people loved talking to chatbot. Other people still wanted to call her. So we said, look, why don't we implement this into your SMS? Why don't we set up an SMS number and reply to people as if it's an SMS coming back? We've been able to reduce probably about 60% of her workload. She was completely stoked with the whole thing. So when it comes to Chaindesk, there's a concept of data store. And you could potentially put your SOPs, your documents, and even things like YouTube. I know a lot of people have got a lot of YouTube content. You can actually put that as an as a data store, and Chaindesk will translate that information in text format in order to reply to somebody. You can do further training to actually give this particular chatbot a personality and actually be able to respond in a particular way. So if you have written multiple emails or you write blog posts or anything else, you can feed that information and train the chatbot to basically respond like you do. You guys definitely need to check it out. There's a free trial available, but I think it's like $25 a month or something. It's definitely worth the dollars. And I can guarantee if you look at this previous diagram here, that will at least save you 30% just based on the whole timing aspect. It's highly customizable, and you can do even things like ticket management. So if someone comes in with a problem, you can create a ticket and assign it to a person. So you can capture that information and do that. Because I find, you know, when it comes to problem solving, first of all, it's about receiving that request, clarifying it or qualifying it if you like, and then assigning it to someone to get back. So this thing can do half of that process based on the data that you're going to give it, or it can actually provide refined answers or references. So if you say, hey, I'm not going to trust my chatbot, this Terminator thing's not going to work for me, I'd rather just you know, get this thing to say, hey, here's a document that you got to review. That's probably the easiest thing you can do straight away. And I'm sure you would have seen this everywhere. You will find that companies like Suncorp or Amy, obviously it's the same group, they use tools very similar to Chaindesk right now to actually give it access to their CRM, which actually allows you to renew or even cancel your policy if you go to that chatbot. Imagine how much time and money this saves them. Like in the past, you'd have to call a call center, get through to a real person, identify yourself, provide a number or policy reference number that identifies you, then explain to them what you're trying to do, and then from there they'll have to obviously confirm things further, and that's it. Now you can do it in like 3 minutes. It actually does verification for you by asking you a set of random questions that is assigned to your profile at their end, and then basically does this whole thing a lot easier. And if you haven't done this, guys, really check this out. And you'll find that the efficiency of a lot of insurance companies that have similar processes has doubled, if not tripled, as a result of the whole thing. So the whole ticket management thing, I think, is huge. And I think smaller organizations don't really have a process for this, which is why your admin people most of the time absolutely hate all this sort of stuff. Just got a question saying, I've subscribed to ChatGPT, gives access to ChatGPT. It would better to choose rather than Chaindesk. Well, ChatGPT is the engine. That's the driver for the actual operation. Chaindesk provides the actual bot and allows you to train a person as well. You can't use ChatGPT on its own as a solution to do this sort of stuff. You can create yourself a channel, you can customize it, but it's a lot more complicated. This stuff is specifically designed to act as a chatbot and is a lot easier and a lot faster to set up specifically for what I'm describing. Yeah, but thanks for the question. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So one other problem I'm finding with a lot of people that do marketing is front office. So what that means is basically someone asks an inquiry, do you guys do this? Or, how much does something cost? And typically this is something that is often overlooked, because if someone says, how much does something cost? And you provide a flat answer, most of the time you end up losing this customer because they just call the next person to find out if they can see a cheaper provider. Where in fact, you should be engaging these prospects in a conversation to qualify them further, to align them specifically with the services or the courses that you specifically offer. So I find that, things like Chaindesk, and look, there's obviously multiple solutions, this isn't the only one, do allow you to do this quite easily through a set of questions, and you can actually define it quite easily. And look, regardless of the business, I think the first thing you got to really consider is the timing of the inquiry. So you can easily set up rules that if someone inquires after hours, you basically train this bot to capture all the information, and then you schedule an appointment, or basically ask the person when would be the best time to call them, and set up an appointment with one of your staff to give them a call. And this way you eliminate a lot of chaos, you've got more refined information, and you end up with a better outcome. You can plug this thing into things like Facebook Messenger, for example. So if you do get inquiries through that, and I find that 50% of companies go and set up a whole bunch of different profiles, your Pinterest, your Instagram, your Facebook, your whatever, TikTok, and then half the time they log in and they see inquiries from like weeks ago that they haven't got to. So if that's the case, this thing can really help you funnel them down and qualify them and bring them into the one central point. If you want to take it to another level, we use a tool called High Level. It's a high-end CRM that actually has got the chatbot built into it, which allows you to have your database handled by chatbots, where if someone does inquire and that person's in your database, they can actually salute them with a name and provide a personalized experience as well. But yeah, front office is great. That's the easiest thing that a lot of businesses can implement straight away. And I think 90% of RTOs are not really looking into something like that, where this is clearly a really big time saver for them. You don't want to be talking to people who are unqualified, and you don't want to be providing them with plain information, because then your conversion rate really suffers as a result. Back office. Well, back office is where you work with a lot of people internally, and you're the bottleneck. Everyone needs your permission. Everyone wants to ask you something, and you've spent, I don't know, hours and hours on putting together procedures, documentation, and everything else. And look, your industry is highly regulated. You got to have a lot of this stuff. You may as well utilize something like a back office chatbot and deliver this information via email, via chat, via SMS. You can basically pick a channel that specifically works for you, as long as it obviously complies and does the job. I think back office is a huge advantage to streamline your communication and really provide an answer in a timely manner as well. And I think, like I said before, consolidating marketing channels is one simple solution, where everyone's got too many profiles that are just overlooked and unmanaged. And you don't want to be missing opportunities or anything that basically comes in, because you just don't have the time. And look, it's about focusing. It's about providing quality experience, in my opinion, which is where tools like Chaindesk can definitely help you. Yeah, social forms. So your website forms, for example, could be handled in the same way as well. Let's talk about another solution. I know, chatbot may be interesting, but some of you may be thinking, hey, what the hell is going on? Let's talk about email management. Now, I find that this is a problem for any organization that's got more than one person. And even with one person, you probably get swarmed by emails. So what we found was, we have a team of 7, and half the team is always behind on the emails. You send them an email. If the email is not as straightforward, they basically will take their sweet time to get back to it. Sounds familiar? Well, I think most staff would basically jump on the easier stuff first and then try to address something more complicated. So what we've done is we've created this integration between email, ChatGPT, and Zapier. And look, you can have a look at all these tools separately, but essentially we have trained up ChatGPT using past emails in order to provide a more instant response from our staff to our customers. So every time my guys would log into their Gmail in the morning, there would be a bunch of drafts pre-written waiting to be sent out. So this way we've eliminated like 95% of emails that they basically delayed to reply with. And half the time it'd be like a pretty concise email where all they have to do is basically just remove a couple of things, change a couple of things, and hit the send button. And we put a process in place where in the morning, that would be the first thing they would do. Now, the 2 areas of the business that really did this quite well were the SEO and the SEM departments. The SEO basically, rather than sending like a monthly report that all the customers absolutely hate looking at because they can't understand what the hell's going on, we actually send them weekly wins. And then every time that come back with a further response, we'd have a pre-written email to reply back to them, which needed to be approved. So we saved the time of what to put in an email. We prepared everything based on their past interaction, and all it required is just for someone to do a minor change and hit a send button. And the SEM department, the Google Ads stuff, is where we decided to focus on the wins for the week, specifically when it comes to things like Google Ads or Bing Ads. And that's been a real game changer. It's fairly simple to implement. You can even Google this up. There's probably going to be half a dozen of YouTube videos that'll come up where, there's a bunch of different people will be sharing their experience as to how they set it up and all these bibs and bobs. Many ways to approach it. But the basic concept is it's pre-written responses trained by past data. And I assume most of you guys have been in business for quite some time. And it's about streamlining that response process. It is a tool that saves us a lot of time and creates an excellent customer experience. They absolutely love getting a reply, within that 24 hours, which has been the KPI. And look, it's an 80-20 principle. I think a lot of the time it's just about volume. But because you guys are so busy, I think this particular solution may potentially be a bit of a golden nugget for you. So have a look at that. And overall, I think where this works really well with the new standards, it's just in relation to the whole customer service and the overall student experience. So if you can make this work, well, yeah. If anyone would like to say thank you, I drink scotch. Okay, so and let's talk about this. We were featured on the Current Affair not once but twice over the last 10 months. So it was quite an interesting story, and we started to sort of look at this from a free publicity perspective as a service, but I haven't really done too much about it because we've been busy on other things. So one day we found out that Kanye West, out of all people, has decided to trademark the term used, which is the name of our business. So YEWS, because that coincides with his name, and he decided to use it for gambling, financial services, I don't know, clothing, everything to do with whatever he liked. And I didn't quite like that. So I went onto the news, had a look at a couple of different articles because it was all over the shop. And I thought, I don't want to be associated with Kanye West, especially in light of his statements around Jews and around, conflict and chaos. And I don't know, just a lot of different stuff that he was saying did not really align with our values, and I didn't want yous to be associated with it. So what I did was I analyzed to see, what the overall market was like and whether this, had any opportunities in the whole thing. And I wrote a press release by using ChatGPT. So I fed ChatGPT a couple of templates for press releases. I'm not a press release expert, by the way. And basically, I also asked it to help me draft a few emails to the editors. And then also asked it to find me a few emails to the actual editors as well. So I've used AI as a potential solution to get this free publicity out there. Later that same day, I had a call from Korea Mail where they said, look, this sounds like a pretty interesting story. It's quite quirky. Tell us more about it. So I was on the phone to them for about 10 minutes. And next thing I know, it's up on the news. Okay, great. So the following morning, I get a phone call at 6 a.m. I only took it because it sounded a bit strange and it didn't have any spam showing on my screen. So I took that, and that was from the chief editor of the Current Affair, who said, look, you know what? This is a really cool story. We'd like to do an exclusive interview with you. And I said, like, how does this work? Well, exclusive interview means that you don't do interviews with anybody else. And I said, okay, so when were you thinking of doing it? And he said, how about 1 o'clock? And I said, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, let's do it 1 o'clock. So I rocked up to the office, started tidying things up, and basically just thinking how we could potentially approach this. And we had another call from this guy saying, oh, we're here. And it was like 11 o'clock. And within 2 hours, they basically recorded the whole thing. And yeah, it took them about a month to air the whole thing, because that's when they had the whole yes vote and the whole Palestine Israel conflict starting. I thought they basically just decided to drop the story altogether, but we ended up on the current affair within a month time. And then we applied for our trademark as well. And it came through within 7 months, which is how long it takes for a trademark to be finalized. So I actually reached out to Zarisha, who's the reporter here. And she called me and said, Alexei, we got to do another one. I said, when you want to do it? Well, guess what? They said, how about like 4 o'clock today? So they came in again and we did another one, and that was just recent. So we've been on the current affair twice, and as a result, we had so much support coming in. We have been on the current affair for all the right reasons, and this has actually helped us realign our business, because the theme of both of these episodes was about David versus Goliath, how the small business can fight against the giants and win. And this is all thanks to ChatGPT, because I wouldn't have ever thought about a spin like that and being able to actually write proper material based on the actual format that is of interest. So we've used AI specifically for us to market ourselves. And I wanted to share this with you today, because if you'd like to get more credibility from sources like the news and so on, there is a way to do it based on tools like ChatGPT, but it's not bluntly typing in, get me on free publicity or get me on the news. You have to actually understand how the process works and then feed it the right information in order to get the right outcome. So there is a process to follow. But anyway, I thought I'd share that, because for us, that's been a bit of a game changer overall. Let's now talk about the strategic partnerships as a growth strategy, because this is something I come across quite a lot. And when Merinda said to me, hey, within the standards, they're talking about this strategic partnerships, I thought this was a really easy presentation for me to address. And at the same time, Merinda said to me that, you guys are always so busy. No one, well, very few, let's say, understand the strategic partnerships. And I thought, well, you know what? I just want to share with you guys how we address this and give you a few tips. So let's go with this. So first of all, why should you consider strategic partnerships? I think the best way to approach this is to look at it from the perspective, like, what's in it for me? Okay. And that's quite normal. A lot of you would think that. So if you could partner up with another RTO that has got the same customer before you and is not in competition with you, you have got an opportunity to potentially double your students by aligning your marketing efforts. And overall, I've got this strategic opportunity matrix here. If anything, if you guys decide to do anything new, usually it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to get that done. But if you got a partner in order to launch something new, it's just so much easier, because you're suddenly exposed to another channel. So the easiest way to look at it is from the opportunity perspective, because you can leverage each other's lists in order to promote each other's services. And I see this across companies that do things like, let's say, health and safety, and customers that do customer service. I mean, you're talking about the same target market where you can actually cross promote. Now, I get it. Some of you may potentially be running a lot of different courses that may be colliding with the other companies. But then you got to look at the 80-20 between yourself and the competitors, because you'll find that while you may be doing everything, not everything is actually in demand. And you'll find that while you're trying to offer these services, you don't really have a business around it. So this is where you have to niche into something in order for that to actually work a lot better. Now, resources is another thing as well. I find that a lot of RTOs, are short staffed, or they may find that, hey, I can't afford this trainer full time, and that trainer works as a contractor between various companies. Well, if you align with another company, you're actually able to share resources and keep those trainers busy, because their goal is to be obviously occupied for as busy as they can be. And if you're unable to provide that, well, guess what they're going to do? They'll go elsewhere. So in terms of resources, strategic partnerships are great. And compliance, like if you guys are being asked to look into strategic partnerships from the compliance perspective, well, the 2 reasons above here will really make it easier for you and allow you to start these conversations which creates compliance. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's unbelievable. That's such an easy thing. I mean, if we were graded on compliance based on this thing, I'd probably be, top of the class. So who would you approach? Well, first of all, who has your customer? Have a think about who your customer specifically is and who else they're likely to be engaging. Not in competition with you. Like I said, you need to understand what you are offering and what your potential alliance partners are offering and how you can potentially collaborate. And ideally, someone who has a list as well. You want people that are quite systematic where there's a list. And if you're going to do an email blast, for example, you're able to reach thousands of people that are not on your list to present them with an opportunity. So how would you approach something like that? I would say, talk to people about marketing audiences. Hey, there is an audience, there's a list of people that we're after. Can we work together? Webinars, I find, is a great way to collaborate and create strategic partnerships. So Merinda and I have known each other for a very long time. And in fact, this for us is a strategic collaboration where we are running a webinar to an audience that is interesting to Merinda and myself. And as a result, we're able to, get you guys to register and come to this workshop. So that is an example here, right here. Cross promotions. If you can develop trust, you should be able to do cross promotions across social media as well as email marketing using each other's channels. And a lot of the time, if you talk to companies on the social media and newsletter strategies, they often run out of things to actually put in there. Like I talk to some people and say, look, we just keep pushing whatever because we don't have the time to refine it. But if you got something better, or if you got something interesting to our people, let's plug it in there. So it's always on the cards. It's always something that's quite easy to address. And overall, you got to understand that this is farming versus hunting, or hunting versus farming, whichever way you want to look at it. You're not going straight for the kill. You're not going to get a partner to come on board because you want to work with them. It's about nurturing that relationship. It's about watering that. It's about making sure that you're growing something that's going to create an outcome in a period of time. And hunting versus farming is probably the best analogy to address here. So some tips for you here. The really, really simple approach that you can take pretty much straight away is, first of all, build a list of potential partners. Do a data scraping, Google people, go on LinkedIn, build a list, name and email. That's all you really need. Do an email blast on a hot topic or a win-win scenario. And I've seen very simple ones where people just say, hey, I do X, I'm looking for people that are doing Y, and I'm wanting to explore strategic partnerships. Are you interested? And when you send it out, you'll be surprised that around 5 to 10% of people will come back and say, hey, I'm interested. What does this look like? Tell me more, So it's something that is so simple. And I find the reason why it works is because it's very different from all the email marketing that everybody else does. Most of the people are trying to sell you something. My inbox, 99% of the time, is filled with, buy this from me, I do this, do you need this, and so on. Well, here, you're just exploring partnerships. And in reality, you're not selling anything. You are exploring partnerships based on the fact that there's mutual gain for both of you. And overall, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Make sure there's a follow-up. I find that you need to do at least 4 interactions with the market in order to get a positive response. And look, to give you an example, there were 4 emails sent out specifically to invite people to this webinar. I had a database, Merinda had a database, and as a result, we had a lot of people signing up at each individual stage. So that is a good example there for you, but don't just end up doing one email blast to your potential partners where you can, do multiple. And it's all about timing. It's understanding different days of the week, different hours a day, and overall there's a bit of science to it as well. But as a basic skeleton, that's something that you can actually follow. So I know we covered a lot of different things here today in terms of, I guess, where I can help with your business. We do things like strategy, AI implementation, and we obviously have been doing websites and digital marketing for a very long time. One thing I've been doing a lot lately is this role of fractional CMO, which is Chief Marketing Officer, because I find that a lot of companies just don't have the time to hire a full-time CMO or have a marketing manager or coordinator that basically does something in a way where it's not plugged into the bigger outcome. They're doing all day posting, they're doing all day emails and so on, but you're not getting the outcome. So if that sounds familiar, let's have a chat, and I may be able to point you in the right direction with all this sort of stuff. So that's the main thing from myself. Let's open up the mic for questions. I'm sure there's got to be some questions here. I know we covered a lot, and hopefully you guys finding some of this stuff relevant. So David, I can see that you're unmuted. Any questions about either of our presentations?
Well, thanks for both to you, Merinda, and to Alexi. Really informative. Merinda, thanks for your creative presentation. Really gave a holistic view of I guess, the essence of the new standards coming out. And definitely AI is something I've been using, and you've just given a couple of great new tips. I'm going to investigate those. I would really like to stay in contact. I do have an idea I'd like to discuss for a strategic partnership about a project that I've been developing. So I'd like to have a conversation offline about that as well.
Sounds good. Excellent. We'll do that. One thing that I'd like to highlight is I know most of you guys are using AI to some degree. If you ask ChatGPT to write anything for you, just add one more thing to it after you get your response. If you say, write me an email or write me an article and write something good for you, just rewrite this recursively 5 times and give me a final version. Just put that in the end, because what you will see is that it will actually rewrite this whole thing and make improvements as it goes. And if you want to see the improvements, just say, rewrite this recursively. That's the main word there, 5 times. Typically within 5 iterations, that's when you get the best quality out of the piece that you're writing. And you'll be surprised with the granularity and the quality, how it basically does it. You can also squeeze in something and critique your own work as well, because you can actually get this machine to critique its own writing, and actually it'll tell you this is more personalized, or you're missing this, or you're missing that. So critique and recursive rewriting are the 2 things I highly recommend anyone using Claude or ChatGPT to write their emails. And if you're not using Claude, check out Claude. That'll blow you away. That's the system that you would be using if you got large documents, because ChatGPT can only handle small pieces of data. The actual page file is quite small. Claude is 15, 20 times bigger than that. But anyway, I just thought I'd squeeze that in because I know a lot of you guys are using it. So yeah.
I want to, sorry, darling. I just want to concur with Alexi, because he told me that about a month ago, and it has so changed the responses I've got. So go on, go, darling.
That's brilliant. This last rewrite, this recursive. And I've often wondered what the difference is between Claude and ChatGPT, because obviously there's so many. So, you've got Claude, ChatGPT, you've got Gemini, you've got Copilot. And I want to know which is the best out of all of them. And that's why I recently signed up for the paid subscription of ChatGPT, because, with the free version, you can only do so much, and then it stops, and you've got to wait 24 hours before you can it'll do anything more. And I'd like to know which is the best one to actually invest in and spend money on, because obviously in the RTO space, it's interesting what you said about Claude, because that, we have large documents, we have things which we want analyzed and reviewed, so in your opinion, Alexi, what's your go-to AI for?
It really depends what you're trying to do. And overall, you'll find that sometimes ChatGPT or Claude won't do things on its own. There are some really cool tools like Harper AI, for example. So Harper AI uses either of these engines, and it actually allows you to analyze a lot of external data. So Harper, it's HARPA.ai, allows you to potentially, look into a YouTube video and create a summary of that video and then analyze it and then bring out the key points. So as opposed to watching the whole, 2-hour video, you can watch 5-minute segments very specific to what you're after. So it's almost like that extension. If you've got a programming background, you can certainly program ChatGPT or Claude to do something like that. But these tools basically have got those pre-written scripts in order for you to do this a lot more efficiently. So I can't answer a question as to which one is better. It really depends what you want to use it for. I personally use ChatGPT version 4. They do have a few later versions, but in my opinion, the 4 version is a lot more complete. There are other versions that specialize in various avenues, but the 4 is pretty good. And we use Claude for huge files. It is pretty sophisticated, and it's a completely different project. Put it this way, ChatGPT sort of peaked at around, let's say, February this year. And after that, they had a lot of internal shuffles in the company. A lot of people have left, a lot of people have joined, and as a result, it's not that same product at the moment. I'm trying to sort of monitor the people who made the biggest impact and where they are right now. And at the moment, there's nothing too definite. So My answer to you is there's no perfect solution. You just need to understand exactly what is practical specifically to your use. So it's not a magic bullet approach. Yeah.
Yes, yes, because it's funny you say that. That's interesting because I had a couple of prompts that I would use with ChatGPT, and it would produce the perfect document that I was looking for, like mapping summaries and, where there's a specific word you use and all that. And recently I inputted that same prompt and I got a totally different output. And I was like, what's going on here? So now I've got to start from scratch trying to figure out the prompt that's going to give me exactly what I want, so that's a bit annoying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, look, how I use, either of the systems at the moment, and I like to give either a go, is I take very big industry reports on the marketing side of things. So let's say BigCommerce, which is one of the leading platforms, produced a 50-page report on the biggest insights and the market changes and whatnot. And I got that to basically rewrite it in a particular format for my LinkedIn profile. And then, you know what, in the following week, someone actually rang me and said, oh, Alexi, you're ranking #1 for, BigCommerce report, Australia Post. I can't remember which one it was exactly. But that's what people are after. They're after more refined information specifically for them. And that for me works really well because I want to be positioned as an expert in the market. I understand this whole report. I want to crunch it down and make it easier and present it as my refinement of the whole thing. And the way you do it is you got to train these machines in your own voice, in your own way you write, in order to get the refined outcome. Do not settle for that first version. That's why this create recursively is really important. And if you feed it any prior information, I mean, I've written books on stuff, it'll actually copy your voice. And this is where the whole grammar versus outcome is always the dilemma, because people are like, oh, ChatGPT spits something out. I chuck it into, a tool like Grammarly and it picks up like 50 different errors. What's going on here? Well, that's precisely the thing. It's not biased specifically to anything. You need to understand the outcome that you're seeking. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, that's great. That's great information. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? Tracy, I think you're unmuted here. Maybe not. Anyone else? Yep.
No questions for me. I just wanted to say thanks. It's been a great little session. I liked the being proactive rather than reactive from you, Merinda. That
thanks,
is always a great little way of looking at things, because most places I've worked has always been reactive rather than the proactive. So we're trying to change that around a little.
You've been on the bus.
We've been on the bus. Don't like the bus.
No.
Cool. Any other questions, either via chat or happy for you to unmute? I know you guys are probably doing something else at the same time.
I have one, which is probably something more that Merinda could answer.
Go.
With the strategic partnerships and that with other RTOs, could that not be seen as a third-party marketing arrangement? And would you need something, because I've seen some RTOs approaching other RTOs, different sectors. There's one RTO particularly because my clients are forwarding me these emails, and I'm seeing how they're saying, oh, look, you in that industry, I'm in that industry. Let's utilize each other's databases. Let's do it. But surely there's a bit of a fine line there with what's classed as a third-party agreement for marketing, because ASK was quite particular with marketing and using other people. Could that be seen as a third-party arrangement?
So what I'm taking from what you've just said was there was, first of all, there's that strategic where you're talking to one another and they've got your clients. This other third party has your clients in some way.
No, so this RTO sent an email to another RTO, because we deliver TAE, so we've got a lot of corporate clients who come to us for their TAE.
Yeah.
And this other RTO sent my client just a generic email, which I think they're sending to all RTOs, to be honest with you, saying, let's work together on marketing. You utilize our database, we utilize your database. And, I looked at that and I thought, is there that fine line between, is it a third-party agreement? Because ASQA, in my mind, would see it as a third-party agreement.
Absolutely, because they're talking about that marketing.
Yes. So I think having those strategic things in place where we utilize each other's databases, maybe that would be more non-RTO strategic clients,
Well,
or
let's look at it in your risk. What is the risk with you sharing your database to that other party? I would like to have an agreement in place to mitigate that risk.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
if you think it in that way, a collaboration could be a cup of coffee where you're
for sure. Oh,
discussing
yes.
things,
Yeah,
and you don't
absolutely.
need an
That you
MOU
don't
then.
need that. No.
Thanks, David.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so it really is about your risk and then where you want to go. And you're dead right. Yeah, you are touching on that marketing if you are marketing together.
For sure. Yeah.
Can I just clarify something? So
Yes.
I don't recommend getting somebody else's database and doing a blast to them yourself. What I recommend doing is to agree on a platform and utilize your own database to deliver the message. This way, you're giving people the option to work with that message and basically take further action, which is why if you and I, for example, send out 2 messages about the same webinar, we're not using each other's list directly. I don't have data to your I don't have
makes sense.
Yes. So it's really it's really more about a process and as an outcome, as opposed to taking someone's list and doing it on their behalf. I mean, there's obviously legalities involved with that.
Yes, but that makes sense. How you've worded it like that, that I think is a good approach. Yeah, for sure. Okay, all right, thank you. That was really interesting. I've learned a lot, and there's good things that I want to research for sure.
Awesome.
Cool.
Great to have you here.
Right,
and there's been some new people joining us. I just wanted to say to them that we have recorded the session. It will be sent out to them so you can watch it. Are there any other questions?
Cool. Well, great, guys. I think this was a good session. We had obviously quite a few interesting questions. And overall, look, this is a topic that a lot of people would probably skip over. And I think Merinda is right. A lot of the time you end up, reacting as opposed to consciously responding to situations. And this isn't unique, unfortunately. As business owners, we're always busy. That's the whole idea. Business means busy, if you deconstruct that actual word, but it doesn't have to be chaotic. It doesn't have to be that difficult. So please, guys, implement AI wherever you can to free up a little bit of time. And if you can create that work-life balance, like I said, I drink scotch, and if this helps you, happy days. So thank you very much. This is my email address in case you want to contact me. And look, today was really just more about meeting you and informing you of what's actually possible. But Merinda is your man when it comes to RTO. So make sure that you touch base with her and see how she could potentially help you in your business.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, we'll probably chat soon. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.